Alright folks, let's talk about what's brewing out in the Pacific Ocean. We have a La Niña pattern firmly in place. What does that mean for you? Think of it as a massive temperature shift in the ocean that has a ripple effect across the entire globe, especially right here in the United States. Specifically, La Niña is characterized by the cooling of sea surface temperatures in the central and eastern equatorial Pacific. These waters are running about half a degree below their average, and that seemingly small change is a huge driver for our atmosphere. It's the engine that will power our winter weather story. This cooling isn't just some abstract concept happening thousands of miles away. It fundamentally alters the air circulation above it. Cooler water means less warm, moist air rising into the atmosphere over that part of the Pacific. This shift in convection, the process of warm air rising and cool air sinking, creates a domino effect. It disrupts the normal atmospheric patterns we've come to expect, and that disruption is what sends weather systems on very different paths. We've seen these patterns before, and they often deliver some of our most memorable and impactful winters. So it's something we watch very closely. Now, how does this translate to your backyard? La Niña has a very distinct personality when it comes to winter in the US. It tends to create a split flow, a tale of two different climates depending on where you live. For the northern tier of the country, from the Pacific Northwest all the way across to the Great Lakes and Northeast, this pattern typically means a colder and wetter season is on the cards. That moisture, combined with cold air, is the perfect recipe for snow. This is the classic signature we look for when we see these cooler waters in the Pacific. Conversely, the southern part of the United States often experiences the exact opposite. While the north is getting drenched and chilled, the south tends to skew warmer and, most notably, drier. This can be a major concern for areas already dealing with drought conditions. The storm track, which we'll get into, gets shoved northward, leaving the southern states high and dry. So, if you're living in places from Southern California across to the southeast, you might be looking at a milder winter, but with the trade-off of very little precipitation, which has its own set of serious implications. So, what's the mechanism that delivers these different weather patterns? It all comes down to the jet streams. Think of these as fast-moving rivers of air, high up in the atmosphere, that steer weather systems around the planet. During a La Niña winter, both the Pacific jet and the Arctic jet get a major rerouting. They are typically pushed farther north than in an average year. This northward shift is the key to understanding why some areas get pummeled with storms, while others see clear skies. The entire storm track for North America is dictated by the path of these powerful air currents. This redirection forces a convergence zone right over the northern central part of the United States. The Pacific and Arctic jet streams, loaded with moisture and cold air respectively, tend to meet and clash in this region. When these two powerful forces collide, you get an active storm track. This means more frequent and potent low-pressure systems developing and tracking across areas like the Pacific Northwest, the Northern Rockies, the Upper Midwest, and the Great Lakes. This is the battleground zone where winter really shows its teeth, producing heavy snow and blizzard conditions with regularity throughout the season. This setup is what brings the classic La Niña winter to life. For the Pacific Northwest, it means a relentless parade of storms coming off the ocean, bringing heavy rain to the coast and feet of snow to the mountains. As these systems move east, they continue to tap into moisture and cold air. This leads to the potential for significant lake-effect snow events around the Great Lakes, as cold air blows over the relatively warmer waters of the lakes. It's a snow machine that can turn on early and stay on for much of the winter, burying cities downwind of the lakes. Meanwhile, the southern tier of the US is left under a ridge of high pressure. This ridge acts like a roadblock for storms. The jet stream flows up and over this ridge, effectively steering any meaningful moisture and cold air away from the south. This is why we forecast warmer and drier conditions for states like Texas, Louisiana, and Florida. While it might sound pleasant, the lack of rain can worsen drought, increase wildfire risk, and impact agriculture. So while the north is digging out, the south could be praying for rain in a pattern that is unlikely to deliver it. Now, let's add another major player into this volatile mix, the polar vortex. This term gets thrown around a lot, but what is it? Simply put, it's a large area of very cold air and low pressure that sits over the poles, in our case, the North Pole. Think of it as a spinning top of frigid, dense, Arctic air. When the polar vortex is strong and stable, it keeps that bone-chilling air contained far to the north, spinning tightly like a well-balanced top. This usually means a relatively mild winter for most of the US, as the coldest air of the season stays locked up in the Arctic. However, this year, the forecast models are pointing toward a weaker polar vortex. When the vortex is weak, it becomes unstable and wobbly. Instead of spinning tightly in one place, it can stretch and meander, lollygagging southward in lobes or chunks. This is when we see the bottom drop out of the thermometer. A weaker vortex allows pieces of that intensely cold Arctic air to break off and plunge deep into the mid-latitudes, bringing dangerous and prolonged cold snaps. These are not your average cold fronts. This is the true, unadulterated cold from the heart of the Arctic. We're already seeing signs of this happening early in the season. A lobe of the polar vortex is forecast to dive south, potentially bringing freezing temperatures as far down as Florida. This is a classic signal that the pattern is prime for these Arctic outbreaks. When one of these lobes of extreme cold interacts with the active storm track set up by La Niña, you have the ingredients for major winter storms. The cold air provides the refrigeration, and the jet stream provides the moisture and the lift needed to create widespread, heavy snowfall across the Midwest and Northeast. These polar vortex disruptions are responsible for some of the most extreme winter weather events. The cold is not just a nuisance, it's dangerous. It can lead to flash freezes on roadways, burst pipes, and a massive strain on power grids. Furthermore, it enhances snowfall potential. For instance, when this Arctic air sweeps over the Great Lakes, it creates explosive lake-effect snow bands that can dump several feet of snow in just a couple of days. It's this interaction between La Niña's storm track and the polar vortex's cold that has us on high alert for an impactful winter ahead. So, what's the bottom line for this winter of 2025 to 2026? It looks like a season of two halves. The forecast strongly suggests an early and colder than average start to winter. We're seeing the pattern establish itself right now, in early November, with the polar vortex already making moves. This means that places that often have to wait until late December or January for significant winter weather could see it arrive much sooner. The northern tier should be prepared for an aggressive start to the snow season, with the potential for major systems impacting travel and daily life before the holidays even arrive. This active pattern also raises the threat of major snowstorms along the east coast, including the notorious nor'easters. With the jet stream configuration favoring storm development and the polar vortex supplying the cold air, the entire eastern seaboard becomes a potential breeding ground for powerful coastal storms. Cities like New York, which has seen a notable snow drought in recent years, could finally see a return to classic blockbuster snow events. The ingredients are certainly there for a storm to rapidly intensify off the coast, bringing heavy snow, high winds, and coastal flooding to the I-95 corridor. However, the forecast also suggests a potential shift as we head into the later part of winter, say February and March. Some models indicate that the pattern could relax, with the extreme cold retreating and temperatures possibly rising toward the end of the season. This doesn't mean winter is over, but the intensity we expect to see early on might wane, leading to a milder finish. This front-loaded winter means we need to be prepared now. The most severe cold and heaviest snow may come in the first half of the season, catching many by surprise. Ultimately, this winter demands our attention. For those in the north, prepare for a cold and snowy season, especially early on. Have your snow shovels, salt, and emergency kits ready. For those in the south, the story is about managing warmth and dryness, being mindful of water conservation and fire risk. This La Niña combined with a weakened polar vortex is a potent combination. It's a dynamic setup that we'll be tracking day by day, storm by storm, to keep you ahead of whatever winter throws our way. Brace yourself. It's going to be a wild ride.